So, big day. Big day. Because I am starting Wisteria. Why don't I have it? So, if you don't know, I did make a reading vlog last year of reading Foxglove, which is book 2 in the Belladonna series. Go watch that if you haven't, link in bio. And in that video, I said, because this was before the cover was announced, I said it'd be blue. I said Wisteria will be blue. It's blue. I feel very proud of myself. This is like my personal accomplishment of the year. Well, that and publishing a book, I suppose, is pretty big as well. So, both of those. By the way, published a book if you want to read that. Link in bio. So I love this series. It's a strange series for me because I do own all 3 books physically, but honestly, like, Adalyn Grace's writing style is just kind of not for me physically to read. Like, I genuinely struggled reading all 3 of her books. I have to listen to them, and I don't know why, because it's not like it's written in a particularly difficult manner, but for some reason it just like feels like I'm reading like a history textbook in my brain. So it's a little strange, but you know, it's whatever. And at the end of the day, the audiobooks are stunningly beautiful, so I'm very excited to be reading / listening to this book, which I am doing. I'm doing both, probably mostly listening to it, but I will be reading just a little bit here and there. Not that it matters because I'm guessing the story in either way. Can we just take a second to focus on the cover of this book? Okay, so this is the front, which it says, "It's said that the wisteria vine is a symbol of immortality." And then this is the spine. And then this is the back. And then, needless to say that this will be spoilers because it's book 3 in a series, so I can't talk about it if it's not. But that is Blythe and Fate. This book is not about Signa and death, which I'm a bit disappointed by because I love death. The character. This is the front end page. Fate has a pet fox. I've discovered I'm currently about 82 pages in, and he apparently has a pet fox, which we love. And then if you thought the front end page was beautiful, look at the back one. Okay, are you ready for this? But it's stunning, as were book 1 and book 2. I genuinely love it so much. And then this book comes in parts, and that's the part page. So it's beautiful, it's stunning. I'm about this far into it, so not very far. It starts in the prologue with Life's POV, not Blythe, but Life as in before she passed away. I don't know how much more of her POV we'll be getting. I anticipate not too much. So yeah, and then basically so far we're 82 pages in and only her first day has passed really. So it started off with her getting married to Fate. This is very much enemies to lovers. They despise each other, which is fun. So they got married and they're pretending to be away on their honeymoon, but they're actually just there. I think they might go on a honeymoon trip because otherwise she's just stuck in a really cold palace. And he's not being very nice to her right now at all. He didn't give her a bed in her room and stuff like that. So it's interesting so far. I'm intrigued to see how the relationship is going to build because I'm very certain that this is going to end with a happy ending. I'm just curious to see how that will develop because right now, like, I can definitely see it happening. I just don't know like what would be the cause of it, because aside from them entering like a bargain and having to marry each other, I believe Blythe did that to save Signa from having to do it so that Signa can stay with death. I don't really know what like the plot of this book is going to be about. Like, that hasn't been really made clear as of yet, so I'm quite intrigued because the first 2 were kind of like fantasy murder mysteries with like a subplot of romance, whereas this one seems to be more just like a romantasy type of vibe. I don't think there's gonna be any murder mystery stuff happening, but who knows, you know? Maybe I'm on chapter 7, maybe chapter 7 is where someone dies, so we'll see. But for for the most part, I'm excited, and I'm gonna try and keep you guys updated as much as possible. I might be kind of bad at that because this is that type of book where I'm just so excited to read it, I forget to actually talk about it. I just want to put in my ears and build a puzzle and call it a day type of thing. So we will see, but I'm excited and it's beautiful. Honestly, this is very exciting that this is like the final book in the trilogy. So after this, the series is done and I can check it off my series list. And it's just, I'm very excited to like have part 3 of 3. I can't believe it's here, quite frankly, because like I read book 1 maybe like 2-3 months after it came out, and then I read book 2 as soon as it came out, and then this one obviously just a little bit after it came out. It's weird to have been with a series start to finish. I don't know. I think this might be one of the first times that I've done that for anything like beyond a duology, so crazy. But exciting. So yeah, I'll be back. So I just got to chapter 17, which is on page 198, and I'm just checking in to say that Blythe and Oris, who is Fate's enemies to lovers arc, is truly outstanding and top tier. Give me a second while I find an example. Okay, so I found the example, but on page 184, he basically tells her to get dressed, you infernal creature. And it's things like that that he keeps saying that is just truly so funny to me, but also kind of just, if you're an enemies to lover girly, just very romantic. And then in this previous chapter, I was giggling and kicking my feet because it was just so funny because they're playing charades and he was begging her not to play. And then the first thing he gets is a dog, and so he gets on his knees and says woof. And it's not funny me telling you this, but it is funny if you're reading or listening to this. And so if you have not read this yet, please go read it and then come back and finish this, because truly I cannot wait. The tension is superior. The enemies to lovers is perfect, and I cannot wait. And again, we are 47% of the way through. Adalyn is making us wait, and I absolutely love it. So I cannot wait to continue. So I just got to page 262, which is chapter 23. And so far, things are picking up a lot. One, Blythe finally knows that she is life and she's dealing with her powers becoming a thing. And then in chapter, I believe it was 21. Okay, 20. This new person called Solanine showed up who promised chaos. So I believe that she is chaos, like how Silas is death and Oris is fate and Blythe is life. She's chaos, and Solanine, said that she killed Signa's mother, but she thinks that Blythe is Signa, and she came to kill Blythe, but then said that she'll give her a chance because she is Rima, who's Signa's mom's daughter, which she's not. She's her niece. And so it's kind of confusing. I don't really know what's going on. She was very vague about what Blythe did wrong in this chapter. She just said, I believe she said that she just caused like an imbalance. So it's really strange. And also Solanine is the one who killed Rima. A lot has happened. A lot has picked up. In this past chapter, Oris came and defended Blythe against one of the mean girls, and they kissed, and the romance is romancing. It seems like they're switching to the lover side of the spectrum from enemies. A lot is happening. I think this is going to be a very packed final 40%, because I believe I'm like 58 or 63%. I'm not entirely sure, but it's going to be a packed final time, and I'm excited to see how this all like wraps up, because this feels a lot more like a general fantasy, whereas the first two felt more just like a historical murder mystery with some fantasy elements. So I'm actually almost liking this one the most, which is a bit crazy. But yeah, so I'm excited, and I can't wait to see how all of this wraps up, who Solanine is, why she's doing what she's doing, and yeah, good things are happening. Hi, so I have officially finished Wisteria. I finished it this morning and we have a lot to talk about. So I did actually end up giving this book 4.5 star. No, just 4 stars. Just 4 stars. I really liked it, however that ending what was that? So I know I stopped giving updates about halfway-ish through the book. I'll be honest, I was kind of just enraptured and also bored simultaneously. The middle of the book, and I'm not blaming it on the book at all because as we know, not my reading year. So I did get a little bit bored halfway through, but also kind of it wasn't the worst thing in the world. Like, it was strange. So I was bored, but it wasn't the book's fault. My first thing that I worried with this book is obviously it's in Blythe and Aris's point of view instead of Signa and Silas's point of view, and I was a bit worried because I wasn't the biggest fan of Aris in Foxglove, and then I really liked Silas, so I was worried that I would struggle with Silas not being like the main love interest of the book. There's still quite a lot of Signa and Silas in this book, but obviously not nearly as much as when it was in their POVs. But then as I was reading this, it kind of made me have to recognize something kind of important about my opinion that I never really thought of before, and that's the fact that I seem to have a tendency to not really like broody men. But like, I do like them, I do enjoy them. However, in Silas's case, he was very forgettable once I put the book down. During the book I loved him, but after the book I kind of just forgot that he was there and forgot that he has a personality and that he says things. And I realized it's the same way with Ali Hazelwood's book boyfriends as well, like Adam Carlson and Levi and whoever else aside from probably the wolf guy. Forgettable because they're just broody and quiet and pensive and always just like So I just end up not really remembering them because to me it feels like they didn't really have a personality to remember them. Like during the actual book it's fine, but in terms of like remembering them, they're not, especially compared to my favorite book boyfriends like Rysond and Jax, who have big personalities, you know, like you can't forget them even if you want to. Same thing with Legend from Caraval and Julian. They were big characters with big personalities and they're very memorable. Whereas with Silas, he's just kind of forgettable because he just felt very quiet and broody the whole time, so there was not much for me to remember. So I ended up actually enjoying Aris a lot more than I thought I would, and I think a little bit more than Silas in the end because he had a really big personality. He had a lot of good lines and the enemies to lovers was really great, and even in Foxglove, like he just had such like a boom in the book, especially compared to Silas. So that was interesting, kind of a nice surprise, and I also didn't really realize that about myself, so that was like interesting, I guess you could say, to learn about. And then the other thing about this book that I loved was that this one felt like a fantasy book. If you haven't watched my Foxglove reading vlog, what are you doing here? Go watch that and then come back. In that one, I also stated that both Belladonna and Foxglove felt very much like historical murder mysteries with just like a light fantasy element. It didn't feel like a fantasy book really. It felt like, again, exclusively almost a historical murder mystery book, like like a new take on Agatha Christie almost. And that's not bad, but you know, when you pick up fantasy, you're expecting a fantasy. And this one actually had fantasy. There was a lot of magic. There was a lot more. The actual like villains of the story were more magical, whereas before it was kind of just like a whodunit situation. So this one was just also really nice because I actually like, there was like a fantasy world that I was drenched in, whereas with Belladonna and Foxglove, the only fantasy was Signa's powers and then the fact that she's dating the literal embodiment of death. Didn't bother me too much with the first series because I mean, I did enjoy them. I think I gave every single book 4 stars, but I did prefer how much more fantasy this book ended up being. And then speaking of villains, I really enjoyed Solanine, or Chaos, as a villain. I listened to the audiobook nearly exclusively, and it was really interesting hearing her because the way the voice actress made Solanine sound reminded me of, I think her name's Myrtle, but I could be wrong, but the toilet ghost in Harry Potter. Honestly, it fit her character really well, but it was messing with my brain, and she sounded demented all of the time, which I kind of like, because I do like villains that are more gray than like black and white. However, she was just fully like, she was Chaos. She just loved watching people suffer, and I kind of just like that was just who she was, and there wasn't like a deeper reasoning or something for her actions. It was literally just a case of like, no, I'm the literal embodiment of chaos. Of course I'm going to want to watch people's downfalls. And then the whole thing that Blythe accidentally brought her brother back to life and everything, that was really interesting. My only gripe was I don't get why she had to heal him and then he was like sent away to suffer anyway. Like, I don't understand why they couldn't just have like killed him. And then especially with that ending, like, I was not expecting to cry as much as I did, but the fact that I really thought we were gonna watch Blythe die, and then Aris was like, no, take me instead, I'll come find you and everything. And then essentially the epilogue and the last 2 chapters were just Blythe mourning the fact that her husband died in her stead. Very sad. I wouldn't say it was a bad ending or a bad plot twist. I just don't understand why it had to be that way necessarily, because now Percy's just running around homeless kind of. So that was a bit strange, but I do like how it tied in all very well, like leaving it there weren't really much questions left. And I'm just so happy that at the very end of the epilogue, Aris did end up finding Blythe, because this book would have been 0.25 stars if I went through all that just for her to be a widow. That would have been so sad. So I'm very happy that they did end up finding each other, but also like it was decades later, so it was nice in the sense that it was kind of like, I don't know, it wasn't like a quick reward, even though it was very, very sad to read about, if that makes sense. And then overall, I think this was a really good story, and it was a very good conclusion to the trilogy. However, I'm going to say I do wish there was a 4th book that was coming out sometime next year, and my reason for that is, in one of the final chapters, Silas says to Blythe that they will all grow stronger and Aris will return, and then they can take care of chaos. I think that was kind of just to like tie up the story, like, oh no, future resolution, like they'll deal with her. But then we never get to see any of that, and I think a showdown between the 4 of them, especially if it takes place years in the future after Signa has passed and is just like fully a ghost person, Reaper person, I do think that would have been very interesting to see, and I do think that would have kind of tied up the final little end very neatly, even if it was just kind of like an extended novella, not even necessarily a full book. So I do have that. That's bothering me a little bit. I would have liked to see those just final things with chaos tied up, because she just kind of like, she was like, well, someone died, I'm gonna go, and they're just like, yeah, we'll deal with her later. But then we're never gonna be able to see that, or maybe we will. Maybe Adalyn wrote it that way so that she could come back to the series in the future, but just wants to focus on other things. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not her, but that's like the one thing about this that I didn't I don't even want to say didn't like, but like I do wish that another book, even just like 200 pages, very short, just came out so we could watch that resolution happen, because I think that would have been fun and exciting to just watch fate, death, life, whatever Signa is, and chaos have like a massive magical showdown, and they use like their powers against each other. I think that would have been very interesting. So it's a shame that that's not the case, but who knows, maybe one day, maybe Adalyn is watching this right now. She's definitely not, but you know, I think that'd be cool. if that were to become a thing. So I'm gonna hold my thumbs, but my hopes are very, very low, and I have absolutely no expectations that it's going to happen. Yeah, I'm kind of sad that this series is like over. Like, I was very ready for it to be over when I started it, and now that it's over, I'm kind of sad. I'm going to have to like re-listen to this series at some point. That'd be fun though, like back to back to back. I really do want to do that, and yeah, I don't know. I'm a little sad, but I had a great time, and I guess it's a good thing that I'm sad. So, yeah. If you read this series, what did you think of it? Do you agree with me that there should be a little extended thing or another book about chaos, or do you think I'm just yearning for more because I don't apparently want this series to end? If you like me or my videos, I would really appreciate a like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye.